Hi, this is Paul. Yesterday and today, I released two videos. One that dealt with the nine dot problem and two worlds mythology, and this conversation with my friend Raj, who's in our local estuary. And he and I talk about Sikhism. We compare notes between Christianity and Sikhi sometimes. And I asked him about escape religion and versus nature religion. So sometimes in fact, after I get off this, I'm going to make a video. And sometimes in my sermons lately, I've been talking about nature religion versus escape religion. Nature religion, the telos, the goal tends to be in our current existence. Escape religion tends to be, there's a problem here, and so we have to get to another place in order to arrive, achieve, be, et cetera, et cetera. Where does this land on that spectrum?
Explain nature one more time.
Nature is living your best life now, and religion can be a way to the prosperity gospel stuff. I'm gonna pray, and Jesus is gonna send me a private jet. Jesus is gonna give me what Mr. Beast has to offer. um, Mr. Beast is a
Oh,
big
okay.
YouTuber.
So this is some, yeah. So this is something like live your best life so that you can manifest the escape plan here.
Interesting. Okay.
So one of the things you have to recognize about the gurus is that they were city builders.
Hmm.
They founded cities and they built out a nation within a nation.
Interesting.
Um, so it's like,
Now, that really caught my interest. I've used a variety of different metaphors for Jordan Peterson. One of my earlier ones was the unauthorized exorcist, um, sort of John the Baptist figure. He calls Jonathan Peugeot sort of an Old Testament prophet, and Jonathan Peugeot is more a church father than an Old Testament prophet. Um, Old Testament prophets. Peterson in some ways is the way Peterson goes after Trudeau is much more Old Testament prophet. Okay, now my new thing is Peterson as Constantine. So I'm really thinking a lot lately about the stack in terms of how religion works on the stack. Part of what happens in secular society is that the stack gets split. Religion is private and politics are public. And it's designed to stay that way. The public stack uses science as its validator, something that's public, and because public, empiricism, rationalism, they're supposed to be public. This, again, is all a reaction to trying to get away from the wars after the post-Reformation wars, where you have nations battling it out over church dogma and doctrine. Now, what Peterson is doing, I think, is he is making a deeply Constantinian move. Now, why Constantine? Well, Constantine in late antiquity in the Roman Empire, you had a period where you nobody could sort of hold power for very long. You just that kept having these upheavals. New emperors would rise and fall, and these emperors are all, in a sense, auditioning gods because they're looking for. If you read Augustine's City of God, Augustine has these sections where he mocks what polytheism had become, because you have the god of the door hinge and the god of the doorknob and the god of the door surface, and suddenly you have this enormous weight in the Roman Empire where cities have to pay attention to the gods to such a degree that public life has become unmanageable, because unless you somehow appease and propitiate to these gods, these gods are going to come in and clean your clock and destroy your empire. And so candidate after candidate for emperor to rule them all looks for gods to rule them all in order to somehow bring calm to the hierarchy. And of course, Constantine famously chooses the Christian gods, and lo and behold, Constantine is able to set up a dynasty. He sets up a new Roman East in Constantinople, and a new civilization is founded. Now, I don't think Peterson is trying to found a new civilization. I think Peterson, in some ways, has become a conservative figure because he is trying to not lose sort of late modernity, classical liberalism. But I think what he actually is doing is, as you know, in his conversation with Peugeot right after he came back from his medical pause, he has a foot on both continents that are sort of moving apart. And modernity is ending, and what he has been trying to do is use the tools of science and the legacy of mythology and symbolism and religion in the West to stabilize the culture in a way that can yield stability and prosperity moving forward. Now, I know a lot of people, Peterson is a lightning rod, a lot of people get annoyed at the fact that he does videos about climate change, he does videos about politics, he does videos about Iran, he does videos about Ukraine. He's dabbling in all of these things, and people are sort of like, Jordan, stay in your lane. And I'd probably like to tell them, if you wanted him to stay in his lane, you should have kept him at University of Toronto. All the attention that was paid to Jordan, Jordan's status was, Jordan wouldn't be where he was today if he hadn't been attacked by the Blue Church. The Blue Church gave him this ascent and has fueled this ascent all along. Probably the smarter thing that the Blue Church has done is sort of take their eyes off him. But whenever he gets attacked, most recently by the College of Psychology, and if you listen to the Joe Rogan appearance, Joe Rogan says, as soon as I saw you were attacked, I knew I'd have to have you on. And Joe's like, I'm going to have you on again when you get your, basically it's his Constantinian United Nation going. I'm going to have you on again. And what you hear in this video, in this interview with Joe Rogan, is again and again and again, Jordan sort of laying down to Joe Rogan like a Protestant, plus the symbolism and mythology of the Catholics and the Orthodox, a justification for, in some ways, a new world order. Now, Jordan is not founding a city like the gurus of Sikhi, but he is in some ways trying to found a transnational, I'd say a post-national framework in competition with the World Economic Forum. In many ways, the World Economic Forum is itself post-national. And unlike the United Nations, where sort of the leaders of countries come in to work as nations together to accomplish things, there's a great amount of skepticism as to whether or not the United Nations can actually do anything, partly because there are degrees to which nationalism itself is struggling here at the end of modernity. Peterson, in announcing, both in the ways that he is just going at Joe Rogan with all this biblical material, hot on the heels of the Exodus seminar, gathering together people from Eastern Europe, Australia, Western Europe, the United States, wanting them to get in a room and talk about issues such as energy policy, family policy, and climate, sort of resisting the implicit religions, the transnational, post-national religions that are sort of gripping the West. he's hoping to spur new conversations and use influence in other institutions to change the trajectory of the West. Now, at the same time, he's also trying to refound the university with his Peterson Academy. I mean, in some ways, this is all nuts. But at the same time, as I said in my Wheatland report a few days ago, last week, Thursday, I went to his event in Wheatland, California, which is just north of Sacramento, at a casino of all places. He's continuing to sell out place after place. And what he says about his tour is exactly how it is. This is my 6th event that I've gone to. I've been watching the events from the start. I thought he gave the best presentation at this event that I've ever seen him give at a live event when I was there live. I've seen him give other great presentations. And again, as he says later in the Joe Rogan thing, now as compared to 2018 with the first book tour, the people are better put together. They're there with their spouses and their girlfriends. They're dressed better. They're less emotionally fragile, and those who have been seriously fixing up their lives, many of them have to one degree or another found success. And so in many ways, this is this is post-national. He is, again, almost a Constantine figure. Even though he's not founded, he's not tried. Now, unlike Kanye, who of course was wanting to found a new city somewhere, but you can see this moment in civilization where people feel the need to found a new city because in many ways, what they're trying to do cannot be embodied unless it is embodied somehow. And you see this with, say, Calvin's Geneva, or Martin Luther's Wittenberg, or you see it with King Henry VIII's, and what happened in England during all of the struggles with the English Reformation and the English Revolution. There's the need to embody it somehow, and Peterson is just sort of having the inklings to do this in this audacious way. And again, whether or not, to what degree he succeeds, I have no idea. But the fact that 7 years into this thing, it's still happening is itself an astounding thing. And again, to listen to him on Rogan. Now all of us have heard Rogan on religion before. Rogan is usually skeptical and sometimes even mocking with respect to religion, even dismissive. But Rogan sat there and took it from Jordan. And Jordan's track record is opening up people's, at least arresting their mockery and opening up their respect. So what's happening here is just completely audacious. Now, I made a video. I abandoned it for a variety of technical reasons, with elements from some of his Exodus seminar, a few clips from the Joe Rogan thing. I don't really want to get this thing taken down, and the easiest way to get it not taken down is for me to not include any clips or anything from it, which I like to do. But you don't have to buy anything to listen to the Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson thing on Spotify. It's out there. I do wish Rogan was still on YouTube, although Rogan was pretty protective of his content on YouTube too. So, yeah, it's Peterson as Constantine. It's very interesting. So, well, I'll just release this, see where this goes.